What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
That appears to be working. First time for everything. Good evening everyone, Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. It is, scarily, the 2nd of October 2021. Wow, it's getting oh so close to many big things happening. One of which, obviously, next week is Windows 11's official release, which some of you are obviously extremely excited about. Probably some more than others. Actually, I've got to be honest with you, I'm actually quite looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a pretty good thing for the industry in general. It's going to force a few people to upgrade, which is not going to be great. We don't like that in particular, forced upgrades, but if you want new shiny things, then yeah, you have to pay the price for it. Also as well, next week, and I believe, is it next week or it might even be slightly the week after? I'm not too sure how the dates pan out. We've also got Far Cry 6 being released, which I am super excited for. In fact, actually looking at some of the bargains this week, I did notice there were quite a few offers with hardware coming with Far Cry 6. So if you are considering getting Far Cry 6 and it is your thing, it's not cheap. If you buy it directly from the manufacturer or the distributor, I suppose you would call them these days, then it's going to cost you about £50 just for the base standard version. But if you want to get a bargain on it and you need a SSD, there are a bunch of deals from Samsung at the moment with their Evo, sorry, not the Evo, the QVO, the SSDs, 1 terabyte, which at the moment retails for about $79.99, I believe it is in the UK, and it comes with Far Cry 6 included. So £50 for the game, and you get yourself a 1 terabyte SSD for £30, which, yeah, is pretty good value for money if you consider it that way. If you don't particularly need an SSD, then yeah, it's a lot of money wasted, and like a lot of people, I possibly might even wait a little bit and see when Far Cry drops down to kind of human levels of pricing, which weirdly Far Cry 5 and also New Dawn didn't, as far as I can recall. I think it did come down a lot, not as much as things like Cyberpunk, which dropped like a stone pretty much straight after it was released. Yeah, it was about a month after it was released, it came down to like a third of the price in some places. So sadly, I bit the bullet a little bit too early on Cyberpunk and paid the full price for it. Never again. That was not a good experience. Anyway, so lots of deals been on the market this week, some of which we've got on the desk here, which we'll be discussing. Part of it is the reason why I'm actually going Intel. I know we've discussed it on the live stream numerous times, and people have often said, do you fancy doing an Intel build? And really, it's never appealed to me. AMD for me has always been where the value is at. But for those of you that are buying PCs or components that are on the market at the moment, you can probably understand what the hell is going on, because, well, I certainly don't. It's absolute lunacy. Trying to get hold of a slightly older 3000 series Ryzen processor at the moment is very, very difficult, especially those lower end parts, the 3100, the 3300X, both of which are essentially kind of vaporware now. Did they actually ever exist? I did have a 3100 at one point, or did I? Was it just a dream when I had a decent CPU which cost around about £100? I don't think it actually happened. I might have to look back through the YouTube catalogue and make sure it was actually a thing and I'm not just dreaming it. There are other lucky people out there which managed to bag themselves a 3300X pretty much when they came out. Skystalker, one of our long-time viewers, managed to bag himself one of those at the very beginning, and for basically RRP, which was absolutely insane at the time. So yeah, he did particularly well. Anyone else managed to get one? Let us know in the chat. Did you manage to bag yourself the legendary unicorn processor that is the AMD Ryzen 3 3300X? Because I've never actually seen one in the wild. Really haven't. Anyway, lots of other things to talk about. Obviously the Intel build, which we're going to be doing. I'm kind of excited. I've got to be honest with you. I didn't want to do it, but unfortunately pricing and the way things are in the market, it is kind of forcing our hands, and we are running up to Christmas. Dare I say the C word out loud. People are going to be wanting PCs, so I wanted to build something based around stuff which you can actually realistically buy at the moment on the market for sensible prices. We'll talk more about the prices and where I've got stuff from, and there will be affiliated links for some of it, not all of it, in the video description below. Some of it you may have to hunt around a little bit. That is something actually which we are going to be trying to address. Those of you that have been picking up some of the deals that we've been posting in our community tab on YouTube, there has been a couple of people that have said, how about doing deals from other countries? Obviously, we are in the UK, if you haven't guessed already by the accent, so most of our deals are UK centric. And to be honest with you, a large majority of our viewers are from England, so it goes without saying that we do try and cater for those viewers first, because it's a lot easier. We don't often hear about deals elsewhere in the US, Europe, Australia, various other countries that watch the channel. So if you do find any deals, feel free to post them. We do have a Discord chat channel for deals specifically, which you're more than welcome to join. Our Discord is a really friendly place, well, mostly, as long as Kia's not about, but otherwise everyone's really friendly. And yeah, it's good for help, support, all that kind of stuff. Or even if you just want just cry your eyes out on someone's shoulder because you can't get an RTX 3090, then it's a good place to go. So yeah, Intel build we're going to be doing. Got a really good deal on the motherboard, which really isn't a really good deal if you think about it comparatively with the AMD side of the fence. But for Intel, we've done really well there. I managed to bag myself an Intel processor, so got the i5 10600, which actually is seemingly one of the very few processors that is almost impossible to find anything out about, especially if you go on YouTube. Just to go to YouTube, type 10600. You can find 10600K all day long, but 10600 there's very, very limited information. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I have tested the processor, it does work. We did pick up a bargain on that one. That's from CX here in the United Kingdom. Comes with a 2-year warranty. It is, well, they said it was a used one, but I actually looked at it, and in the video which I've done for this motherboard already, you'll see there's pictures of it, and from what I can tell, the CPU has never ever been used. It's, I don't know where CX are getting them from. Maybe it's kind of X stock or something from manufacturers or OEMs, that kind of thing. I honestly don't know, but pretty decent deal. Around about £130 here in the UK for a 6-core 12-thread processor with, I think the base clock is like 3.3 and maximum boost I think is 4.8, so quite a wide spectrum there. Not exactly the most energy efficient of processors, but it is listed as a 65 watt TDP part, although there are options to run it past those limitations on certain motherboards, hence why we've picked up one of these. But yeah, we'll go through that, do a little bit of an unboxing on that later, so you can check out the board and also some of the other bits and pieces we've got on the desk. So other things of note which we've picked up this week, picked up an Iron Wolf drive. Now hard drives, if you haven't noticed, hard drive prices are going through the roof. Now a lot of you out there are probably turning your nose up already. Hard drive, what's that? Don't need one of those in my life. But for some of us who've got lots of data to store and all that kind of stuff, or maybe you've got just ridiculously large game libraries or photo libraries and you just haven't got the room on an SSD or an NVMe, or it's not cost effective, then mechanical storage is still where it's at. It really is. This drive at the moment is probably one of the better of the NAS style drives. Ideally to put in a NAS, but you don't have to. You can put it into a caddy, into a PC, and just let it go and do its thing. Very quiet, 5900 RPM spin speed, 64 meg cache. I think it's 64 meg, might be 128, possibly 64 meg cache. But anyway, yeah, decent all-round drive, 4 terabytes. Managed to pick this up just a snip over £80 at the moment, which is really good. I've actually bought 3 of these, I think, or 2 of these previously, and I'm sure the first one was like 110, maybe 100 for the second one. So yeah, that is a pretty decent saving, around about 20% saving. So if you are after one of these, again, links will be in the video description. Very good drives, decent warranty. Even come with a rescue option as well. So if the drive goes tits up, which is an electrical part, so potentially it could do at some point, there is the facility from Seagate where they'll actually try and recover your data for you. So yeah, pretty decent drive. Anyway, I've rabbited on way too long already. It's time I said hello to some of you lot in the chat. Thanks to Ugly Bob for the super chat, which said bang in the very beginning. So thank you for that. You did see it on the start of the stream, so I have popped that this. And a lot of you I've actually put on the stream already, so you can see. Who else we got? So we got Paul Bakewell, Jad 2016, Afandi is with us. Paul Bakewell, did I just say that? Yeah, losing my mind. Nick Barnes, Pelperson, O'Reilly is with us, Ugly Bob obviously, we said that already. Who else we got?
I must be missing. Hi to everyone I've missed out, but
yeah. Kath says hello to everyone that she's missed out because she's basically rubbish.
Shut up.
And we've got a super chat coming already. From, who was that? That's from Ugly Bob. Does that come up on the screen? Yes, that works as well. Bob's done boobs. Damn it, Bob. That's £10 worth of boobs there. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kath, do they look anything? Do they look similar? That's like, is that Kath wearing a Q-link? Thank you for that, Bob. Oh dear, dear oh dear. We've got Wild Bill with us, we've got IJKX, John Sullivan, Captain Meaty's Unboxings. I've mixed that up completely, Captain Meaty's Adventures. He says, alrighty, Unboxers. Kenny D also with us, not Kenny G, Kenny D. Says, how are we all doing on this rainy Saturday? I don't know about you guys, whereabouts you are in the world. There seems to be like this weird weather front which is moving in, so we have definitely dipped our toes into the autumnal weather. It's been raining pretty much, I don't know, I'd say all day today. I would ask Kath, but she's been asleep most of the afternoon, so I can't ask Kath. All she could see was sheep jumping over fences, so yeah, no idea there. Okay. Sky Stalker is with us also. Cosmic Space Muffin, who's been working his ass off these days. The Ordinary Dude is with us also. How you doing? And good old Stuart Cleary, how you doing, Stuart? And DVDR is emulating some DS games right now. Hopefully you're doing that in a legal fashion. I don't care, to be honest with you. Welly Bob says hi to Stuart. I'm not going to show. I always struggle on names. I really do. I suppose it goes back to my breeding, but Motaz Halal. Maybe I've got that right. Hopefully I have. But either way, good evening to you. Antonio says good evening, Mike and Kate.
That's autocorrect.
Ah dear. Kath doesn't like Kate.
I don't mind it.
It's one of those things that has always been a little bit of a personal thing for her, which she does not appreciate, but I do, thank you. Ordinary Dude says, Win 11, blah, meh. Yeah, I think it's pretty divided actually on Windows 11. There is definitely, like everything in the world these days, whether it be politics, religion, opinion, whatever it is, there's always seems to be a big divide these days, and it used to be years ago, things weren't as polarizing as they are now. It seems now there's definitely just two sides to everything. Whereas back in the day, I can remember as a young person, even in the UK, we had like multiple political parties. Now it's kind of two and, well, one effectively. Yeah, it's very weird. And the same has happened with Windows 11. There's a lot of people that aren't excited. Aletta, for one, is not excited about Windows 11. She'll wait for 2025. Good luck with that. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Windows 11, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? What do you think? Is it going to be something which you're going to be upgrading as soon as you're offered, or are you planning to do a completely fresh build with a fresh install and take it for a spin from day one and see what it's like on a fresh system? Upgrades? I don't know. What is the deal? What's everyone's thoughts? I've got to be honest with you. I've been using Windows 11 on, well, this PC, what you can see behind me, the streaming PC, and pretty much since I think it was probably one of the first release candidates came out, I was running on there. I wasn't streaming at the time, so yeah, I wasn't streaming, but I was using it for day-to-day work, if you can call what I do work. And it's been pretty good. I've not really had any major issues. I've had a few quirks. I'm trying to think of ones which actually did affect me. The start menu thing. The start menu was always a bit of a weird thing. So you click on the start menu and it wouldn't register, which we often get with Windows 10 if you've just installed or updated graphics card drivers. Quite often that'll happen and the start menu just doesn't work. Quick reboot or install the graphics card drivers again and everything's back to normal. But I did find with Windows 11 it was a weird thing where I'd click it, the first time wouldn't work, click it again and it would work. And no matter what I did with drivers, it just persisted. And even still to this very day, if I click on the start menu now and click on power to shut down, I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm going to have to click it twice. It doesn't register the first click. And I'm not sure if that is a well-known thing which other people have experienced. If it has, again, let us know in the comments. This is a live stream after all, and it's all about participation, so I want to know what you guys and girls are thinking. Mortaz says, Mike, can I fresh install Windows 11 without Windows 10? Yes, of course you can, yeah. You can't, well, you kind of can at the moment. I would probably wait until after the 5th, go to the Windows 11 website after, get a download of the media creation tool on another PC and just create yourself a fresh ISO. I wouldn't really recommend doing it this close to the official release with the existing version, which is online, because it is kind of the insider version, so you have to enroll into that and all that kind of stuff. So I would say probably, as we stand at the moment, what's it today, the 3rd? No, 2nd. So it's out on the 5th. Is it worth doing it right now? Probably not. In a few days' time, absolutely fine. And to be honest with you, that's what I'm looking at doing with this. There's multiple reasons why I've gone for this particular motherboard and this processor and the whole setup that I'm going to be doing, because I will be doing a completely fresh install of Windows 11 on this. A reason why is this motherboard actually comes with a BIOS specifically tailored so you can install Windows 11 straight away without any configuration changes whatsoever. It's basically Windows 11 ready. It doesn't have a sticker on there saying it, but it is Windows 11 ready. TPM 2.0 is supported and all the kind of trusted platforms, secure boot, all those things are taken care of. Now, I know for a fact between now and Christmas and probably beyond, it's going to be an absolute nightmare with people trying to do upgrades, trying to do fresh installs, especially if they haven't got their TPM settings, secure boot and all that kind of stuff. Even just UEFI compatible devices such as older graphics cards or older hardware which is in like MBR rather than GPT for hard drives not being recognized in Windows 11. I foresee pain ahead, lots of pain. But where there's pain, there's videos to be made, and where there's videos to be made, there's income. So it's not all bad as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, it is. There is going to be a lot of support going on. Even now, because we're using that kind of insider version, which people are using, still on a very regular basis, we're getting questions about this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a bumpy road, and especially I think for people when they get to that point. Maybe Christmas time when they've bought a PC perhaps kind of now or earlier in the year, they bought a laptop or some sort of bargain, they put it in the loft, they come to Christmas Day and then they're offered the Windows 11 upgrade and then they find out that they can't for some reason. That's going to be, I always remember when I worked in the retail store, M Squared, which is a computer store here in the UK. And actually I'll acknowledge the super chat quickly while before I start that one because it's a long one. Stuart Cleary sent us €10 and says beer money. Thank you very much, Stuart. Stuart, would you mind awfully if rather than a beer, I perhaps partake in some WKD with the lemonade flavour? Have we got lemonade flavour WKD? We may have to indulge in some of those later to keep the spirits up. Thank you very much, Stuart. Sorry, going back to the story, yeah. So I worked in a retail store, we sold pre-built computers and also we built computers for people, bespoke computers. And the run up to Christmas was absolute bedlam. Now this was probably, what, 2002, Kath? Angel was born, wasn't she? Yeah. So 2002 Christmas probably. So this is kind of, we're getting towards the peak of computing being a real mainstream thing and everyone buying DVD-ROMs and stuff like that, DVD-Rs, DVDs. Writers weren't quite out, I don't think. They were starting to be coming out. So there was that really massive momentum where people were starting to think, right, I want a PC in the home. And they were buying them at ridiculous rates. And we were selling them like crazy. And I'll never forget the queue outside the shop on the first day back after Christmas when we shut down. So we closed on Christmas Eve late because customers were collecting their PCs for Christmas Day. We were closed Christmas Day. We closed Boxing Day, and then we came back the day after. And I just remember driving up to the shop, because I was opening up the shop, I had the keys and everything, and literally there's a queue of people outside holding boxes, like big computer boxes, and it's like, oh, this is not going to be a good day. And I was the manager of the store, so if there was any kind of complicated problems or any refunds or anything like that, it was always me that had to deal with it. And yeah. There was actually some genuinely upset people because they'd bought a PC and something that either we'd done, maybe a stick of RAM wasn't installed correctly, or maybe a graphics card come loose. And this is back in the days where PCs weren't as straightforward as they are now. And these things do happen, unfortunately, especially when they're bumped around in cars and all that kind of stuff. So you had to try and kind of appease the customers after you just ruined their Christmas, but also as well, you didn't have to kind of roll over and just say, oh, it's all our fault sort of thing, because sometimes it is just the customer's fault where they've put it into the car, it's been bounced around, or they kicked it, or whatever. It's been neglected in some way, shape or form. Obviously, you can't take the entire blame for that as much as you would want to. You have to kind of call the line and say, no, look, sorry, this is actually your fault. We'll help you out, but this is your fault, just so you're aware. But anyway, yeah, I'll never forget that. And I kind of envisage seeing it go through that again this Christmas with Windows 11. I think it's going to be one of those where the Discord's going to blow up. It always does at Christmas because people are at home more, they've got their upgrades, etc. And yeah, the support rooms get absolutely chock-a-block. So hopefully those of you that are members of the Discord and you're in the expert ranks and the moderator ranks, that you're ready and prepared. I would suggest if you're wanting a quiet Christmas, mute Discord or turn off the computer. I think that's going to be the best way forward. So we've answered that question, and oh, that's still on there. I am not very good at this. And there is another super chat, and I can't see who it's come from. Who's that come from? David Aiken. He says you look like you've shrank.
You actually grew yesterday.
I did grow yesterday. There, it's the chair. It's a little bit on the low side. Disco, 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 disco. Techno, techno, techno. There we go. There we go. That's better. Thank you, David, for £2.50. I haven't... Yesterday, I don't know why, I've had a good sleep yesterday and I felt like I was about 2 or 3 inches taller. It was weird. My spine must have decompressed after the day I had previously, which probably shrunk it a lot. Anyway, there we go. Thank you for that. Pierre Plays says... Pierre Plays says, I do remember Hooch, not great. Yeah, that was some deadly gear.
Stop.
Matthew Day says, my PC is not cool enough for Windows 11. Yes. There's going to be a lot of that. There will be a lot of that. Kath's just got up and now she's standing up again. She's loving it. Bob says he's a grower, not a shower. Have I actually put that on there? No, I haven't. Not yet. He's a grower, not a shower. Like Peter Andre in some respects. Cosmic Spaceman says, where is Midget Mike? I'm not too sure.
There you are.
Here I am. George Sonev says, how can I be trained for a computer technician? That's actually a very good question. That genuinely is a very good question. It's training to be a computer technician these days, I would say your best bet is to not go to college. Don't go to classes, learn from actually doing the job. So if there's like a local PC store or anything like that near you, just go in there and say, I want to learn how to build and maintain PCs. Can I come and work for you? Whether I do it free of charge, whether you pay me a small fee, whatever. Just say, I'm interested, I want to learn. And to be honest with you, if it's a local repair shop, realistically there's a lot of tasks which you have to do which are boring as all hell. And that is something that they can then give to you to go through so you know what the boring jobs are, how long they take to do, how much you could potentially charge for those kinds of repairs in terms of labour charges, that kind of stuff. So that's how I would do it. Go to a local independent, say you want to learn, see if they'll help you out and see if you can in turn help them out. I only wish, I still wish now, I really want to do it, I still want to do it, I want to open up a computer shop in Bristol. I want to do that so badly, it's untrue. I know there'll be absolutely no money in it whatsoever. I'm not going to make myself rich. I'm not going to become the next scam computers of the UK. But it's something I really do enjoy doing. And I would love to do it at a sensible price. Be completely upfront and honest with people. Don't rip people off. Just do the job, do it well, and get a reputation for doing it and build a nice little business. That I would love to do, and it might happen one day. I never know. I don't have barely time to go and take a pee these days, let alone open up a shop. But it's something I genuinely would love to do. O'Reilly says, I've often thought about running my own PC computer shop as well. Yeah, no, it's a lot of us who work or mend or do stuff in the computer industry. I think a lot of us actually would love to do that because of the fact you get all the parts that you've got in the shop, so it's a lot easier to kind of diagnose stuff because you've got access to loads of parts. For you guys that are sat at home, and we've probably all been there at some point or other, where you're trying to diagnose a PC, you've got your own PC, it's randomly crashing, and you've tried everything, you've done a clean install of Windows, you've reinserted the RAM, you've checked your graphics card's got decent thermal pads or the paste hasn't dried up and all that kind of stuff, you've changed your power supply. And it gets to the point where it's really difficult to actually diagnose a PC without swapping out parts. And if you're not in a position to have those parts on hand to do it, it's a really hard thing to do, which is why computer repair shops exist. And now that computers are becoming weirdly more of a commodity and more accessible, at the same time they're also slightly getting harder to diagnose because the link between software and hardware has become so much closer than what it was years ago. A long time ago, you could get your PC, you could build it, you could install Windows on it. You wouldn't even have to barely touch a driver disk, and most things would, to some extent, work. They might not work great, but they would generally work. Whereas now, even things like, well, the video we did this week, the chipset drivers thing for security for the PSP module. Not having the right chipset drivers on your system these days can make your system ridiculously unstable. It can also cause things not to install, such as your graphics card driver, which in turn then gives you crappy performance and all that kind of stuff. So the software has become so linked, especially because everything is hardware accelerated. Even your browser that you're probably watching this on right now is probably hardware accelerated in either Chrome or Edge, or many of the other browsers use hardware acceleration. And if the hardware acceleration drivers are not installed for the system, things don't work as well as they should. And also with chipset drivers, things like processors overheating, thermal management, yeah, all those kinds of things can all cause loads and loads of problems. The links between them are insane, they really are. Cosmic Space Muffin says, if your PC is getting funky, check your RAM. Yeah, I think that is that's a very, very good advice actually. RAM timings are a massive problem. Back in the day with SD RAM or even the first DDR RAM, you could pretty much mix and match anything. In 9 times out of 10 it would work. Whereas these days you can actually have 2 sticks of RAM from the same manufacturer with the same markings on, and they won't work together. It's a really awkward place to be. It really is. There's another super chat from Orali. Thank you, Orali. Is that working? Yes, it is. Awesome. Orali, I don't know why, but for some reason it just refuses to show Orali's picture on those thumbnail things. It doesn't do it from anyone else. Why is it only Orali? Very strange. More kittens. Live cat cam during the week when not streaming. Beer money is next week. Okay. Thank you very much. Pierre says, I would love a micro sensor, even if it's in London. That is, we are, as a country in the UK, we really do struggle with decent computer shops. We really do. And Brightex alias, Mr. Handtech, has sent us £1.79. That says, Mike Shop, smiley face. Will ASUS B550s be Win 11 ready? Not necessarily. B550s probably won't be. They probably will have a BIOS update. I think most manufacturers are going to go to the point where they are going to do updates and to make it Windows 11 ready. I think ASUS have probably jumped on it quite well with this particular one. I'll be honest, I've not looked at other manufacturers to see if they do one, but they did. It was just one of those cool things which I looked at and was like, oh, Windows 11 BIOS, brilliant. What more could you want? That makes life a lot easier.
Adam's in Birmingham.
Adam from the Blind Divide, how you doing, Adam? Good to see you in the chat. Milks Monster as well. Milks Monster, not seen you for a while. Good to see you in the chat also. Markovsky as well. Maplin's catalogue was on every tech desk in the UK. It probably was at some point. They were good. George Sonev, £5 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. All these super chats, I'm going to get to the point where I am going to actually have to open up a computer shop. I can see it happening. I do want to do it. I really do want to do it. It might happen one day. And it would certainly make life a lot easier for making YouTube videos as well, because you would just say, oh, here's another customer. Ah, excellent. Let's make a video. So you'd probably make money on the actual repairs more than you would the actual selling any of the parts. Unless you bought parts to build a PC, in which case you could film that as well. Graham's with us, says, hey all. Matthew Day says, Windows 11 ready BIOS is only some changes in defaults. Yeah, that's all it is. It's literally very straightforward. It turns on Secure Boot, turns on TPM support, turns on UEFI. It disables CSM in its entirety. So if you do have older drives which are, like I said earlier, MBR, then they will have to be converted to GPT to be recognized. Most people probably, I think, are more than likely going to install Windows 11 fresh on a new build, I think. I can't see many people go in from Windows 10 to Windows 11 just for the hell of it, unless they've done it by mistake. Or they are someone who does kind of like what we do, either making videos and having to make content, so you kind of got to experience it so you know what customers and people are going to be asking you. Bombay Potato says, good evening, how you doing? That's a great name, Bombay Potato. Like that one. Letta says, nearest real PC store to me is 250 miles drive one way. Holy crap. That is terrible. We're not too, well, I say we're not too bad here. In the UK, we've got a big chain called PC World, which was bought by, well, it's part of Currys now. So you have like electrical stores which have got like a PC World part to them. They're not the best. Their customer service is legendarily crap. Their support is legendary bad also. They used to have a, I think it was a how-to section or a tech how-to section where you could take your PC to be repaired, and basically they unintentionally, I think for some people, possibly intentionally, I don't know, they fleeced the hell out of a lot of people, and they got a really bad reputation for overcharging or making up stuff which really didn't need to be done. And there's been numerous YouTube videos on that which people have done and experienced it firsthand. Even further back, before YouTube was even a thing, PC magazines such as, what was it, Computer User, I think it was, PC Pro for instance, they used to always do things on it and saying what their customer service was like, and it wasn't great. Obviously, like anything, there were probably a lot of people who worked in those how-to stores and they really, really wanted to help customers, but I think it was more of those things where it was commission driven, trying to sell warranties, trying to sell backups, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it wasn't an overall great experience. For some people who had no idea what was going on, they were probably very happy with the results. They got their PC back up and running. They thought they had a decent warranty. Gary Glitter PC wasn't the best one they repaired, to be honest with you. they probably regretted that as much as he did.
He was like 10 minutes away from us, wasn't he?
Yeah. Anyway, back to Windows 11. So yeah, disable CSM, that's not good. No, it isn't good for some people. Mitch Harmon says, hi Mike, how you doing? How you doing, Mitch? Captain White's also with us. Personally, I like the Steam controller. They're very pricey these days.
What's the best
game
controller?
The question was, what is the best game controller? For me, the best game controller has always been and always will be the Xbox 360 controller. The original grey. In actual fact, I'm going to grab it because it is such a good controller. I refuse to let go of it, I really do. Let's give you the overhead shot so you can see this bad boy in its all glory. As you can see, every night when I finish gaming, I wrap the cables around, which obviously you shouldn't do because it's bad for the cables. And you can tell, look at that. I've actually got gaffer tape on there, thick, to try and keep the USB cable in straight order there, because it is actually damaged in there somewhere. So every time I move about, Windows does the old ding dong, dong dong, as if I've unplugged the USB and replugged it, and then quite often it will just go completely bananas. So yes, this for me is my favourite controller of all time. I like the shape of it, the feel. It just works really nice. It's a very enjoyable controller. I prefer this over the Xbox One controller, which I find is a little bit too angular. And I don't know, there's something about this, there's a slightly classic look to it, in my opinion. Well, actually, while we're on the subject of this week, one of the deals which actually came up on on ShopSmart, which if you haven't been following already, then you certainly should have, were these. Easy SMX SL-9111 wired controller. So these are basically wired controllers. They were exceptionally cheap. I've actually got two versions here. So there is a grey one and a black one. The black one was originally listed, I think that was £12.99. So for £13 is brilliant. You can't even buy a replacement USB cable for this controller for £13, or at least you can, but it's probably going to be a crap one. So this was great. So I thought, damn it, I got to buy one of these. So we posted it on ShopSmart and also on the community tab. That's the one I was looking for. So absolutely brilliant. Then a little bit later on, I noticed after, or someone noticed, I can't remember if it was me or whether it was Calf or whatever. I think it's possibly me. Then we found this one, which is the SL-9111 in grey or silver, and this was £7.99. And actually, I still haven't unboxed this yet, so you guys and girls can experience it at the same time, and we'll see what we think of it. See if it's actually any good, and see whether I will be returning it in the very near future, i.e. Monday. For $7.99, I'm hoping it's going to be pretty decent. So nothing too exciting so far. And I don't like wireless controllers. I don't like having extra dongles. I don't like having batteries to recharge and all that kind of stuff. What are you getting? So usual kind of deal in here. So you get your usual Easy SMX thing, good or not good, and instruction manual. This works allegedly with Android devices, basically anything on the USB. Supports the regular Xbox 360 style control methods, and actually, yeah, that's not bad. The silver and black look, I'm not sure if I like that as much as I do the black version. This silver one kind of reminds me of some of those slightly cheaper, like Trust devices, which, I don't know, silver for peripherals. I don't know, what do you guys and girls think? Silver a good thing or not? I'm really not sure. I'm going to plug it in a minute so you can see it, what it's like lit up. And hopefully it doesn't take control of the stream, that would be unfortunate. Come on. There we go. So there is the startup. So now the buttons are illuminated, as you can see there, the traditional ABXY. And for comparison, there's the Xbox 360 controller. Very similar size, and actually the layout is very similar. I wouldn't kind of measure it, but I'm guessing they're almost identical in size. It does feel very similar actually. Some of the nicer features you've got now, because it obviously is a slightly newer controller. This is a good, what, 15 years old. So we've got adjustable lighting, so you can press the lighting button and you've got 5 stages of lighting. So if you don't want the illumination, if it's distracting, you can turn it off. That's the brightest one. I quite like the brightest one actually. I think that looks really good. And you can adjust the rumble. It's got quite a lot of force feedback, or not force feedback, like rumble pack. So you press that, that's on the full, press it again, goes down to the next level, and you can minimize it or you can turn it off altogether. So if you don't like the noises, or maybe you're playing games at night and you shouldn't be, and your parents are telling you to go to sleep and they can hear your controller rumbling, then you can go ahead and turn it off or turn it right on.
Extra toggles underneath.
On the bottom, you've got the extra buttons. So there's 4 programmable buttons there, M1, M2, M3, M4. So those are like macro buttons which you can program. So you press and hold the back key, I believe it is, and then press and hold, sorry, you press and hold the button underneath, then the back key, and you can set individual kind of things. So you can map a button. So say you want button A to be mapped to one of those triggers, you can do all that kind of usual stuff. So you've got a back button, start button, you've also got a mode button, so that switches between modes for Xbox, Android, and basically other consoles and stuff like that. Got a turbo fire button there, so you can enable that. It doesn't have a light on it to say that turbo is enabled, which is a bit of a pain. I would have quite liked to have seen that, but never mind. But yeah, feels pretty good. It's actually got quite a nice feel to it, and the triggers themselves are analog. A lot of people were asking, are those analog or are they digital on off? No, they are definitely, and you've got the bumper buttons as well. But yeah, it feels nice. Actually, for me, considering that I absolutely adore this controller, I actually, in terms of the grip, feels slightly smaller. I think the Xbox one flares out more on those edges, whereas this feels a little bit flatter. But yeah, it's really comfortable. The down click is quite responsive on there, less so on the top analog or left analog, whereas on the Xbox one there's a real defined click to it, which I actually prefer that. So in terms of, like, for Far Cry games, when you're running, or I guess any third person shooter, when you're running, normally it's kind of you press down, click down to run, and choose your direction, and that's quite easy to kind of toggle on and off with a little bit of pressure. With this, it's a little bit more mushy, I would say.
Matthew Davis, how can you have an analog trigger?
How can you have an analog trigger? Because the analog trigger works in the same way as like your X and Y axis would. So the triggers on the side are like throttle. So throttle and brake. So the more you pull it, the more throttle you give. And conversely, if you brake in, then you press a little bit, it will feather the brake in, or full on brake in would be a full movement of the trigger. So they're analog buttons rather than digital, where they're not just like that's off, that's on, that's off, that's on, no matter where you push it. So there's a gradual thing that goes through the triggers, so you can be very precise. Things like Flight Sim 2020, perfect for any driving racing game. Things like Rocket League, Dirt Rally, all that kind of stuff. You really do need analog trigger buttons rather than digital ones. So yeah, absolutely great. Love that a lot. So that was a pretty good deal for £8. You can't go wrong. I don't think you can at all.
Antonio says, right, let's get back on track. That CPU and motherboard unbox.
So what was that? Sorry.
Antonio.
What was Antonio said? I can't even see it now.
Yeah,
Antonio, right, let's get back on track. That motherboard and CPU are both locked. Yes, they are. They are both locked, which for some people is a deal breaker. Realistically,
What we do here is go back.
sorry, there was the intro. I'm not very good at my job. I blame the Stream Deck. It's the Stream Deck's fault, not mine. So yes, talking about the, let's get back to the CPU and motherboard, because that is quite a big thing really, especially considering that, I must have a look at that as well. Dave Aiken sent us this to take a look at. So I said I was going to do the unboxing today, but I haven't got around to it, so
sorry,
apologies. Kath's fault, she went to sleep. She's getting on a bit, so the old girl needs a rest now and then. Actually, I'm going to have a slurp of my tea in a minute.
Do you want another one?
No thanks. Right, so back to the motherboard and processor, because that is pretty much quite an important thing that we're going to be doing a build on. So the processor, like I said, spec-wise, you know what the specs are. 3.3 base, 4.8 turbo, single core max, 65 watt parts. But the motherboard, this one here, the B560, see, I'm so used to having the X570 Tough Gaming Wi-Fi, or Tough Gaming Plus in my other system. The naming convention for this is really weird, because most places where you look at it, it will be called the Tough B560 Plus Wi-Fi. They somehow, strangely, omit the gaming part. The Amazon listing do, even their own website does. It's extremely weird. I don't get why they do it. Anyway, so this is the B560 chipset. Now, the B460 chipset was pretty awful, and for any locked processor, it didn't make any difference really whatsoever. It was annoying that you couldn't do anything. You couldn't really do a great deal with the RAM. You could overclock very, very slightly. The B560 chipset improves things quite a bit in actually quite a few areas. So you get PCI Express Gen 4 support. You also get a slightly unlocked power schedule or power scheme. So you can let some processors kind of run wild within the thermal limits of what the system can do. This particular board does do that as a default straight out of the box. So they use something called APE, or APE 2.0, which is ASUS Performance Enhancement, which essentially allows you to kind of not overclock, but it allows you to push your processor further than what you would normally be able to in the kind of normal Intel set out guidelines, which would kind of strictly limit this to 65 watts, and that is pretty much it, and it wouldn't let you take it much over that. From what I can tell, and again, I'm no expert with Intel, I'm very, very new to the platform, but from what I can tell, this has got an 8-pin EPS connector. So in theory, I'm thinking this could probably boost up to around about 125 watts, possibly slightly more. The wattage is really down to a lot of other things, such as the thermals, power delivery, and all that kind of stuff. So as long as some other parts of the system stay in check, this will boost higher than what it normally would do under the normal Intel circumstances, if that makes any sense. You can as well, you can make a lot of overclock into the RAM, which is something which people were really miffed at with the kind of H410, the B560, etc, etc. So with this now, you can actually overclock the RAM quite significantly. And in theory, you can set your RAM speeds up to 5,000 megahertz, which no one has got 5,000 megahertz RAM. It's, well, I don't know anyone who's got any. I think I've got some 4,000 somewhere, or 4,400, which is still very rarely ever used. But anyway, I've actually tried this already with this processor with DDR4 3600, and it accepted it in the BIOS. I haven't installed Windows, so I don't know what it reports there, but it does appear, even after a reboot, to stay with those XMP settings of 3600. So the weaknesses in this particular architecture, the 10th gen and the 11th gen for that matter, which to some extent was memory timings and frequencies, especially in some games, this hopefully shouldn't be so much of a problem now. So I'm actually genuinely looking forward to doing a build in this and seeing what it's like. I am going to be directly comparing it with the Ryzen 5 3600 in the system behind me, which is what this effectively is going to be replacing. So because this is obviously Intel chipset, for things like video editing and streaming, arguably Intel have got the upper hand with the things like Q-Sync, etc, etc. This has also got the built-in onboard graphics as well, which again potentially could be very useful. I may not even have to use a graphics card in my streaming PC, which would actually be really handy. I would like to be able to do that and then put that graphics card into use somewhere else. So that could be very good. Is Calf making WDK? Oh no, it's not making it. Milk, no sugar. They're all asking what you're making. There's the teaspoon. They can hear it all, Calf.
Oh no.
Did you have any gas while you're out there? Or you didn't have any gas out there? Because they could hear it. They would hear you doing that, you know. Pierre says no sugar, sweet enough. I do like a cup of tea, it's very nice. It's an English thing, I swear. Anyway, so this board has a ton of features. There are some drawbacks though. So if you are thinking of building a system, you're thinking, actually, Mike, you might be onto something there. If I can go to CEX, I can pick up a cheap Intel processor. I did actually order the 10400. That was the one I originally intended to buy, and that was £115, which I thought for £115, 6 cores, 12 threads, yeah, ticks a lot of boxes. So I ordered it. They took the money out of the account, and then I got an email saying, sorry, we can't send you the processor because it is not in a merchantable quality, or something along those lines. Basically, we can't sell you it. So yeah, I guess someone dropped it. So they refunded it, at which point I'd already found this board on Amazon Germany for £106, which it still kind of blows my mind how much this has come down. These were originally about 150. So this costs £106, which I'm very pleased with considering what it is. Yeah, I was in a position then, what do I do? So we were talking about it on the Discord, and I think it was Seam at Night actually who said just get a 10600. And I was thinking actually 10600, they wanted £20 more. And I was umming and ahhing, and I was thinking because it's a locked processor, being that the frequency of this is potentially up to 4.8 against I think it's 4.4 with the 10400. 400 megahertz is probably a decent enough spread to warrant that extra money in used terms and in my own mind. Realistically, these probably won't overclock much past 5 gigahertz, maybe 5.1. So 4.8 actually, yeah, it's within tolerances of what I'm prepared to accept. Single core performance is also pretty decent on it as well. So for some applications, it's going to run better, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, hence why I've ended up with it. So I've ended up buying this £135 for this, 106 for this, so say 105 for argument's sake, so it makes my maths easier. So £250, and this is, I think this is actually a really nice little combo. For £250, it's quite difficult to do much better. Now, you could turn around and say, okay, well, we could get a second-hand Ryzen 5 3600. You can probably pick those up for about $150. Then you could probably pick up a decent motherboard. You might get a B560 for about £100, maybe slightly less. Something with decent VRMs and all that kind of stuff, you're realistically looking B550 Tomahawk, Gaming Plus, etc., etc. from MSI. So it's kind of, it's in the same ballpark. And now that we've got the memory frequency adjustment on this up to the 3600, I think it's a relatively fair fight in terms of where the costs are at the moment. Again, Ryzen 5 3600, I've already got one, so I've got something to directly compare it with. And yeah, it just seemed like a good idea to go for something new. And hopefully it's going to be interesting for you guys and girls, obviously, watching the videos. You may be thinking the same thing to yourselves, thinking, well, I've not built an I've not built an Intel system for a while because it just hasn't been priced in the right area, or there's not been stock or whatever. But maybe now is the time to go for a slightly cheaper 10th gen CPU with these boards are being discounted all over the place. A couple of weeks ago we were seeing AMD boards being discounted all over the place because you couldn't get processors, and the stock situation isn't getting any better. You've probably noticed it already. If you haven't already looked for components on the market or watched prices going up, it is getting worse daily. It really is. There's a few little bits and pieces which we find again on the deals. So the hard drive, and actually another deal we picked up this week was a SSD. These have come down to reasonably sensible prices. So this is the Kioxia. This is the 240 gig SSD. We picked this up for about £22. So that is coming back down to the pricing that they kind of were at the best point around about Black Friday of last year, which obviously we're not too far off now. 3-year warranty with it. It's got onboard cache as well, which is always a good thing. It's a cheap and effective upgrade for a laptop, or to put into a media center, or actually just use it as a boot drive. It's absolutely fine for that sort of thing. So yeah, that was another good deal. That's probably listed in the video description as well. So storage deals are coming about. There's a few, they're far and few between, but yeah, they are out there if you look hard enough. Joypads were good. The used market for a lot of stuff like the processors, I think, is pretty much the way to go at the moment. It really is. So now I've got the dilemma. It's not really a dilemma. Well, it is, I suppose. It's first rule stuff. We actually reached out to a few suppliers and people that we've worked with previously this week. Kath sent off a bunch of emails, and we actually had some really good feedback from a lot of them. And the one that which we were probably the most pleased with at the moment is Arctic. Our friends over at Arctic said, oh yeah, we've got some new stuff coming out on the market.
They reached out to us, not.
Oh yeah.
I didn't do that.
I know, sorry. They reached out to us before we sent all those letters out? It was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a weird thing. Anyway, regardless. So Arctic got in touch with us and said, look, we've got a load of stuff we want to send you, so for checking out reviews and stuff, what do you need, basically? And it was like, oh, okay, so what have you got? So they've got a new RGB 360mm AIO, which appears to be, from what I can see already from one of our fellow tech friends, Tech Team GB, reviewed it, I think it was yesterday. It looks bloody amazing. Excuse me. So RGB everywhere, well, apart from the pump head, which I'm fine with. Really nice new design fans. They've got the new P120-A fans, I think they're called, and they've got a really new design to them. They're very, very, very quiet and very high pressured. So they've said we can send you one of those. So like, brilliant. We're liking that a lot. So we're going to have the Arctic Freezer RGB 360mm AIO come in, which I did say to them, I said, well, maybe if we're doing that, maybe if you can send us some of the other fans as well, then we can do a bit of a thing and get a build together. So I've asked them, I don't know whether they're going to send them, but I've asked them for 6 additional fans. So the PC behind me, which you can see now, is going to be having the 360mm AIO from Arctic, the new RGB one, and 6 of their highly static pressurized RGB fans. So I'm really looking forward to that, because the fans that are in there are just those up here ones, which are fine, they get the job done, they were inexpensive, but it seems that Arctic, in their wisdom, previously with their fans, they used to do those value packs, so you could pick up maybe 5 or 6 fans in a pack and save a bunch of money because of packaging, etc, etc. But it seems they're going to do the same for their RGB fans as well, so they're sending out the value packs, which come in packs of 3, which is excellent news. So hopefully they're going to be very good. So yeah, I don't know whether I do the full install with the Intel stuff, chuck it in there, do the AIO and all that at the same time, whether I wait for the AIO to come, swap over what's in there, do that testing. Again, I'm actually looking for input from you lot to see what you think. Captain White says the Arctic P12 are awesome fans, use them loads. Yeah, the new ones are a really, really bizarre design. Rather than being individual fan blades as you'd have normally, they've actually got like an inner circle that goes around it in between the exterior of the fan. It's hard to explain, but it's essentially the same principle as kind of like motor engines in boats, or at least some kind of scuba gear where they've got like a thing around the outside, so it forces the pressure through more, especially for pushing water through fan blades, that sort of stuff. And I guess it does the same for air, because the air can't physically escape from the sides as it's being pushed outward, it's being pushed inward, so in theory you should get a lot more static pressure. So anyway, looking forward to getting those and seeing what they're like. I'm hoping they're going to be really good. From what Andy over at Tech Team looked at, and he showed the results, it's an amazing AIO, possibly the best one on the market. And bizarrely, it appears like it's going to be about £50 cheaper than the kind of equivalent Corsair product, which that's a lot of money saved. £50 saved on cooling can go to other things like slightly better graphics card if you can buy one. If you can buy one. Yes, Kath?
Captain White says, what SSD would you recommend? 480 to 512 watts?
What SSD would I recommend? Well, to be honest with you, I would say the Kioxia one appears at the moment to be good value for money. I think they did the same version of this. They did the 240 and the 480, and the 480 was $39.99. So there is a bit of a save in there. This is £22.99 or £23. So if you had to buy two of these, it would cost you £45, £46. If you buy the 480 one, you get a bit cheaper, so $39.99. If you click on the link in the video description for these Kioxia ones, it'll take you to the page with the 240s on. Just move down the slider and you can look at the 480s. I'm pretty sure they're $39.99 yesterday. Hopefully the price will be the same. And actually this is... It looks like it's relatively fresh stock as well. These were made in April 2021. So a few months on the shelf.
Also, Captain White, I've made a note of that.
Yeah.
Would like you to look at a case, metallic gear.
Oh, metallic gear, yeah, that's Fantech stuff. Or their budget brand. Take note, Kath.
I've done a little bit from that.
Markovsky says it will go nice with your GTX 750, Mike. I don't have a GTX 750. I do have a GTX 660. Not a 1660, that would be great, but a 660. Captain White saying, yeah, come across a brand of case. I've got to be honest, I'm actually looking for a case. Bizarrely as well, we've reached out to suppliers as we do this week. We reached out to Aerocool, which they got in contact with us ages ago and said, like, we'll send you a bunch of gear for you to take a look at. There's an ATX case, a micro ATX case, a weird tower cooler thing. I think there's AAO, some fans, and another sort of cooler. Basically, there's a whole bunch of stuff, and they said, oh yeah, we'll send it out to you. You can check it out. And we mailed them to say, like, any news on the shipment? And they said, oh yeah, we sent it out to you months ago. Have you not had it? It's like, oh god. So somebody somewhere has got a whole bunch of Aerocool stuff, which should be here for review purposes, but it isn't. So we'll be taking a look at those very shortly. Hopefully, if our man over at aerocool.tw finds the parcel and tells us where it is, I bet it's stuck in customs somewhere, I would imagine. But who knows. There's a super chat come in from Mike White and says, don't stick your fingers in Arctic P12s when running, as you can break a blade off, which is better than breaking fingers. Winston says, woof woof. All right. Winston Woof, the man. The water cooling king.
Go up to
Antonio.
Oh, sorry, the cat's being sick. Not in my shoes.
Oh, Flame.
Sorry.
Flame just sicked up, the little monkey.
Aww.
What was that question? So Antonio, is 180 watt TDP CPU cooler good enough for 125 TDP Intel 10600K CPU? It costs the same as the 1060 in Croatia. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. Yeah, 180 watt TDP. When they say about TDPs, it's a really kind of bizarre measurement, and the TDP isn't kind of the same across the board. So cooler manufacturers will use TDP in some respect Intel use it in another, and AMD use it in another again. And they don't all kind of balance out. So as long as it's a decent 120mm tower cooler, the 10600K should be fine. It's not until you really start going up the ranks to the 700, 900s that you really need that kind of water cooling. If you're in Croatia, I'm guessing ambient temperatures are going to play a bit of a factor in that, because I know Croatia can get rather warm in the more sunny months. So yeah, if you're paying a lot of money for a 120mm tower cooler, you might want to think about a slightly cheaper 240mm AIO, be on the safe side. David Aitken says £50 saved is only half a game these days. Yeah, or at least the game without the add-ons. Reality Dog, how you doing? Good to see a couple of new faces. Reality Dog says I only have one Intel system, Z390 board with an i5 9400. Use it for Linux, Windows, dual boot, test machine. Love Ryzen 5000 series CPUs, but Intel has good stuff. Yeah, I think they have a very good place in the market. Realistically, if you look at Intel's volume of sales, it's huge. It is absolutely insane. And even with AMD making the inroads that they have and people installing it en masse, they're still nowhere near the market share that Intel has. And I don't think they ever will be. As much as I would like to say they will, I don't really see it happening. It'd be interesting to see what the new lot of AMD processors come out. We've got Alder Lake S coming out shortly as well, so that is going to be another kind of side tangent, which at the moment they do look to be quite good. Yes, Kath?
Mint Hawk. Ran a bit from where you were.
Mint Hawk. Was that the thanks for all the valuable help, Mike? Question. Question. LC Power SSD. I don't know what that means. Wondering LC Power. I've not seen Is LC Power a brand? I've not. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry. Maybe put your question again and elaborate slightly. The older grey matter's not catching up. Antonio, actually, yeah, that's a good point, which you just mentioned there. If I'm not mistaken, on B560, sorry, it is B560, getting confused now. On B560 and Z590, you lose 4th gen SSD with 10th gen CPUs. Now that is very relevant, especially in this particular case. So let's have a look at the board and I'll explain in a little bit more depth. Any excuse to get a motherboard out. And also, I do love the smell of PCB. Not PCP, that's another thing altogether. In fact, actually, since I've had the human malware or whatever ages ago, they don't smell so much now. No, it doesn't smell of anything. Or maybe it does, I just cannot detect it. So let's give you an overhead of this. So we'll do the top-down shot. So this is the Tough Gaming B560 from ASUS. It's actually a nice looking board. I really like it. You've got a lot of accents on there, little yellow accents, but I actually don't mind those at all. I think they work out quite nicely. But what you've got is, obviously you've got your CPU socket there. You've got your PCI Express Gen 4x4 link there for M.2 drives. Underneath that, that's directly connected to the CPU, by the way. Underneath that, you've got this slot here, which is your graphics card slot. So that's PCI Express Gen 4x16. Again, directly connected to the CPU. Further on down, you've got another M.2 slot there, which is controlled by the chipset. So that's PCI Express Gen 3x4. And you've got your other PCI Express Gen 3x1x1x1 and a x4 slot, but x16 size. So potentially you could put a graphics card in there if you wanted to. I wouldn't, but yeah, some people may choose to do that. So if you're putting an 11th gen CPU in here, you get full PCI Express Gen 4 support across graphics and your top M.2 slots. If in our case we're using the 10600, because 10th Gen didn't support PCI Express Gen 4, that means that this slot is actually completely disabled. That's what they're telling us. Whether or not it will actually go down to PCI Express Gen 3 × 4 speeds, I honestly don't know. I don't think it's physically wired at all from the CPU for that particular purpose. So in which case, I won't be able to use an M.2 drive directly powered from the processor. It'll only be from the chipset down here, which isn't the end of the world. It's still going to run at the same speeds, and if anything, it's probably going to take away some of the heavy lifting from the processor to actually do other things rather than do I/O for the actual drive. But yeah, we're yet to find out, see what it performs like. But that is definitely something to bear in mind. If you are thinking of going with a 10th Gen processor on an 11th Gen motherboard, that slot potentially could be completely useless. Some of the boards have got 2 M.2s as well running off the chipset. This particular one hasn't, so they've given up some of the SATAs. You potentially could get rid of SATA and add on another M.2. I suppose having the room to do it and all that kind of stuff. This is designed for 11th Gen processors, is the kind of the real deal. We've got some nice features on here. So you've got front USB Type-C, you've got support for up to 128 gigs of RAM should you want to, 8+1 VRM setup, 50 amp chokes, 2 massive heat sinks on there for the VRMs, which we'll probably be needing. Reinforced, nearly said AGP, reinforced PCI Express slot, so that's always kind of nice to have. Not a massive amount of fan headers on here. Fan header wise, there are 2 at the top, CPU optional. At the bottom, we've got chassis fan 2 and 3, and chassis fan 1 is kind of on the top here, next to the AIO pump. So in reality, only really kind of 3 fan headers as such for actual case fans, which isn't a lot these days. But what you do have, to kind of balance things out a little bit, you do get addressable RGB, 5 volt and 12 volts at the top, and you also get 5 volt and 12 volt at the bottom, so you can go to town with your Aurora Sync software and have lots of stuff. There's actually something which some of you might know in the chat, and actually I would love to know if I'm right or wrong on this. I'm pretty sure that I am right, but sometimes I miss the point altogether. So ASUS have this thing called a Q clamp, which is designed for your M.2 drives, which is this little plastic thing here, which I don't think I can give you too much of a close-up of, but essentially it's like a little plastic clip. So that is, instead of using a screw to attach your drives, so you just flip it round and it locks the drive into place. But this, on both the bottom slot and the top slot, is both in the 2211 space rather than the 2280, which is the more common one, which most people use. So unless you've got one of those super long drives, which I don't, you can't use that clip. And it doesn't appear that that actually unscrews or can come out to screw into one of these other units. Now I've looked really closely. I need probably a magnifying glass or something, or eyes that actually work properly. But it doesn't appear that it wants to come out. Now there is actually, underneath it, there is a screw. And I can take the screw out and it looks basically the same as that. But I don't want to wrench it out. I've tried very lightly with a set of pliers and it doesn't appear to want to move. So I'm not going to wrench it, but if anyone's out there and has got one of these boards or a similar board that supports that Q clamp, please can you tell me whether that moves? Because I don't think it does. And if it doesn't, it's bloody stupid. Because it's, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. You do get included, just to answer Orale's question, which I just noticed on there, you do actually get additional pillars to go for M.2s, which come with the normal pillars and screws, which kind of leads me to think that the only reason they would include pillars and screws is if the Q clamp didn't move. So maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But if anyone else got these boards or something similar, please do let me know, because yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one.
Can you go back up to Ross Grimshaw?
Can I go back up to... that's a good question, actually. Ross Scrimshaw says... Hmm?
Do you want to do the other camera?
That's right, it's on there. Ross says, if I am running a... Oh, it's gone. Hang on. Yeah, if I am running a beta version on Windows 11, does my PC automatically update to the public release of Windows 11? No, actually, I'll probably be doing a video on this before the 5th. And hopefully I can get it done in time. Essentially, what you want to do is, if you're on the beta or the pre-release version, you want to opt out of the what's it called, the insider program. So just turn it off so you don't get any more updates, and then you'll stay on the version before the very last one. You'll still get security updates and all that kind of stuff. Realistically, if you want a proper install of Windows 11, you are going to have to basically bite the bullet and start afresh, which is what Microsoft kind of want you to do. So if you want to stay on the version you're on, you can opt out and not get updates, and then that'll be okay. Thank you for the super chat. That is from David Aikens. Says, I'm off. Big shout out to this awesome community. I agree. They're wonderful individuals. Thanks, Mike Caff, for all you do and all the awesome regulars. Make sure you like and share. Yeah, sounds like wise words there, young David.
And also, if you go up a little bit more.
Oh, if I go up more, yeah.
Is it Mint Hawk?
I did Mint Hawk, didn't I?
You
Mint Hawk. Oh, LC Power is an up-and-coming German brand. Any opinion on its FSD? No, I'll be honest with you, Mint Hawk. Being that I have not...
What we do here is go back.
I keep on pressing the wrong button. I am a moron. I really am. That is actually the Welsh word for carrot, if you didn't know. Is that working now? Yeah. Nice picture. Yeah, LC Power. I've not heard of them before. Being a German brand, you'd expect them to be on the in the English kind of retail area as well. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. So it'd be interesting to see if they do come across. Being that I don't know anything about them, I would be hard pressed to give any comment one way or the other, because I don't know who they are, what components they use, what their warranty situation's like, what their pricing structure is like. But I will make a note of it, and we will look into it. Probably on Monday, might even reach out to them and see if they want to send us any drives for review purposes. We can check them out and see if it's a decent option or not. Yes, so I am in a dilemma right now. I've got another motherboard and processor. I want to upgrade the system behind me. I really do, but I don't know whether I should. I'm almost tempted to try and find another case and just do another totally separate build, which would make my life easier, but I don't know whether it will or not. Whatever you think you're doing, where you think it's going to be easy, something generally comes along and actually screws you over. Rosen 2 and 3. Windows 11 final release is out on the release preview channel to the Insider program. Is it the final release though? Because I've noticed today, even just looking through the media, that there are more updates to the final version coming out, and it's not going to be exactly the same. So you may well be able to do that if you go to if you've got the latest version. I would suggest probably today or tomorrow, if you're on Windows 11 and you're Insider and you've got the kind of what this appears to be the newest of versions, switch to beta. In the update section, you've got an option for fast ring, kind of slow, which is now beta, and then you've got dev. I would go to beta one, do an update, and then choose to not receive any more updates. And then you should be able to opt out of Insider, and you might be able to keep your OS. I'm pretty sure you will. It's difficult to say. They always change things. I remember with Windows 10, we went through a similar situation where people were kind of like, oh God, Windows 10's coming out, am I going to lose my install? And eventually Microsoft just caved in, and just if you had Windows 10 pre-installed from the release candidate, it just carried on anyway. Or if you did a reinstall, it just activated. So yeah, it's a weird one. If you James Brock says, Rosen 2 and 3, is anyone really interested in Windows 11? I think there is some interest it's something to take your mind off the rest of the crap which is going on in the world, is basically what it comes down to. It's a new operating system which we don't really need. There's no real reason for it. Now, I could go down the rabbit hole with this and talk to you about things which I think are going to be in Windows 11, which are going to basically ruin the PC community. If you want me to do that, let me know in the comments, and I will go down that rabbit hole, because there's a lot of things which are happening in Windows 11 behind the scenes which are going to make it a much worse operating system for us all if they go down the route which I believe they're going to be taking us. But if you want to talk about that, I will talk about that. And yeah, I don't know. There's going to be, normally like anything, if it's free, you're the customer. No, you're the product. You're the money. You know what I mean? People don't give you stuff for free. There's always something which gets its claws into you. Now, whether it's information, whether it's tracking, all that kind of stuff, it's, yeah. You know what I mean. You're the...
You go back, change the subject to Captain Meets.
Captain Meets Adventures. What's he said now?
That'll change the subject.
That'll change the subject. Mike, do you know Mick Hucknall? No, but I believe he knows me. Do you think he's an Intel guy? I don't know. I think he's definitely Team Red. Boom. For those of you...
That's quite quick for you.
Yeah. Skystalker says, do a new build. Yeah. If I could find a case which I really liked, I probably would. It's a shame that the AeroCool guys haven't come through with the case they were supposed to be sending, because that would have been the perfect one for it. Oh, I don't know. It's all confusing. I don't really need a particularly good airflow case because I'm not going to be overclocking, obviously. So, I don't know. Yeah, it might be nice to have something a little bit more stealthy. Markovsky says new build defo. Okay. Pierre Play says 700... Mike thinks you have to drill holes in it, but he's also from Bristol, so don't listen to him. That's fair. That is fair. Ugly Bob says, I'd rather watch Strictly than Intel build, lol. Uh-oh. Matthew Day says, RP usually pumps the one which goes final. Markovsky says, in a decent case. Okay. Ashley says, do you know if there's a rollback to Windows 10 from Windows 11 like before? Yeah, again, that is possibly what is going to happen. I don't know. There's been so many ideas banded around. If you're using Windows 11, the test version, on a main production PC or your only PC, firstly, you've only got yourself to blame. Secondly, take a backup. If things do go wrong, at least you'll have a backup. Install Macrium. Use Macrium free. Take an image of your system. Keep it backed up, just in case the unthinkable happens. If you're not sure how to do that, we have done a video on it, so just search Macrium backup on the channel and you'll find it. It's extremely easy to do. I actually use it on my PC daily. It's extremely good, works very well. I back up my entire system to the NAS, so if anything goes wrong, it's there available for me, which is the way to go. William Bodie says, I gave things to you for free until UK Taxman did show up. Yeah, UK Taxman did. It's a bastard. Still, we all got to pay our taxes, haven't we? Even if we're massive multinational... Oh, no. No, they don't, do they? Damn. O'Reilly says Windows 11 in a virtual environment is fine. Yeah, I think so. Ashley Strachan says, oh, sorry, wrong one. What is the install size for Windows 11? I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. I didn't even look because I did it as an upgrade on that one, so I have no idea, I'm afraid.
Rosen says Windows 11 version 21H2.
Windows 11 version, that's the latest one, H1, 21H2, thank you. Oh yeah, happy birthday to Pierre. belated birthday. I'm raising a glass of tea. Cheers. David Thompson, did you get your Iron Wolf yet? I ordered 2. Yes, here it is.
It was a day delayed though.
It was delayed a day because it came from, I don't know, right, this is going to be slightly political now, but I've got to say it. When we order stuff from Amazon in the UK, generally we get it the same day. If we order it...
Oh, not the same, next day.
Yeah, same day, next day type thing. If we order things from places like eBay, Scan, eBuyer, etc., generally it's a couple of days. Or quite often they'll say, right, this is how long it's going to take. At the moment, most companies in the UK are saying there's going to be delays to deliveries due to human malware, fuel shortages, no drivers available, insert doom panic thing here kind of stuff. Whereas I've ordered 2 things this week from Amazon Germany. Both of them turned up quicker than the stuff from Amazon UK.
And I ordered from eBay Germany.
So for those of you that are saying, or have even considered the fact that it's Brexit has done it all. Germany is in the EU. Technically we are not. We are Europe, but we're not in the EU. So Germany have got the same problems as us, pretty much, give or take. But yet they managed to get stuff here quicker than the UK. I don't understand that. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It confuses me entirely. So regardless of what they say in the media, ignore it, please, because clearly there's something else going on, which isn't what we're being told. I should stop there. Anyway, moving on. British Noob says, but we all know Google is always right though. We asked it a question the other day, and it didn't know the answer to about 7 things.
DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo is the way to go forward.
Or Brave if you can get it.
Shouldn't say that actually, because Google and YouTube are being quite good at the moment. David Thompson says, half my order arrived today, the Iron Wolf comes tomorrow. Okay, cool. Ashley Strachan says, oh dear, last of the gin. Oh dear. Nick Barnes says, question, does buying Amazon EU cost extra taxes or delivery? No, it doesn't. Everything, if you go through Amazon, well, if you have a Amazon UK account, if you go to Amazon Spain, for instance, or Germany, or yeah, pretty much most of the places, you can log in with your UK account details, and when you go to check out, because it knows your address, it calculates taxes at the point, which normally are basically nothing. I don't know actually how it works, because
on how much things
yeah,
are.
it depends on the item and how much it is. But the Iron Wolf drive, I think was, no, sorry, the motherboard. The motherboard was the one. The motherboard was like 110 euros, but then I opted for a faster delivery, which cost another 3 euros. Which, if you think about it, if you had next day delivery in the UK, you wouldn't get it for £3 extra on your thing. For something this size, you'd be looking at probably an extra £5–10. So not only they sent it across a massive pond from another country, it's also cheaper. So the motherboard was cheaper, the postage was cheaper, and it arrived quicker. I think I'm going to have to buy a lot more stuff from Amazon Germany. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not too sure what's going to go, how it's going to work out if I have to return anything. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I assume that's the same if you've got Amazon in any country.
Right, yeah. William Bodie says it's thanks to DHL that it is faster. Did it come? I think it might come from DHL actually. I'm not sure. I wouldn't.
What was that? Sorry? That came from Amazon.
Yeah, but DHL or Amazon, aren't they?
I don't know.
They
but
bought
Amazon
like
now.
parts of it, haven't they? The last loop is kind of Amazon's own, but the main shipper is like DHL, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, Tristan G says, I'm back from the store with more whiskey. Bruce News says, I had Amazon parcel delayed 2 weeks ago. My first ever one, including the one that Hermes lost, and ordered a lot last year. Ashley Strachan says, I'm being a pirate here, not BitTorrent, drinking rum. Excellent. James Brock used to like gin and lemonade. I've never tried that, I don't think. What did I drink? I used to drink gin with hot chocolate. It was really nice. Those were the days. Kieran Atkinson says UPS is the worst. Yeah, UPS I've not had a great deal of good experiences with. Yeah, they're all just sophisticated drunks. British News says, I blame Hermes for delivery delays. Yes, they're not great, are they? Right, oh yeah, let's have a look at this keyboard and mouse. I've not had a look at this keyboard and mouse. I'm not going to do Dave's mouse. I'm going to save that. I'm going to do a proper video on that. It deserves it. So this is an RGB keyboard and mouse. Now for most of you, this is going to be some majorly boring shit, but I need to take a look at, because I'm not too sure how bad this can be. So this is from Trust. Now this was actually I believe it's an Amazon only deal. So Trust actually make these specifically to sell only on Amazon, which I'm not sure whether that's going to be a bad thing or not. So this is the Azure multicolor cycle. Doesn't say RGB, so that's a bad sign, because it means it's going to do all kinds of weird stuff. Part of their GXT range of gaming peripherals, 12 multimedia keys, anti-ghosting, and a 3000 DPI mouse. Sounds okay. This was 18 quid, by the way. So it didn't break any banks for sure. And I'm not sure if it's going to break anything else, but we will see. So full-size keyboard layout, 3 combined LED color modes. Oh god, that sounds awful. Right, 3 combined color modes. That doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. So there we go. Not oh, you get a GXT sticker. That's going to be used, obviously, to pad out the bin.
Rally's going.
Cheers, Rally. Rally says, taking bets, that is a membrane or hybrid keys. I think they're hybrid. Let's try and rip them off and see what happens. Yes.
No, he's not going.
Oh no, he's not going. I was lying.
It was snooze time because you're getting RGB.
So these are not these are not PBT or double shot keycaps. They are just junk, and that is definitely, yep, definitely membrane. So whoever said they're membrane, you're absolutely right. This is awful. It really is. Actually, that's a nice texture to the mouse. And the wheel is a little bit on the mushy side, but okay. DPI button. Definitely not Omron switches. You can just hear everything clanking around in there. Side buttons as well, so that's always a nice thing to see. Oh my god, you can hear that. Are you getting that on the on the microphone? How bad did he sound? That is not very nice sounding. Although saying that, for me personally, actually, they're not in a bad position. So yeah, that's okay. Obviously it's RGB and lights up and does all that other usual stuff. The keyboard is what I'm... James Brock says, I'm sure that mouse is no hero. I think you're absolutely right. I think it does, yeah. It sounds awful. It really does. And I'm going to need a bit of an extension for this, I think.
More space in that mouse than the other. Oh.
Yeah, the mouse has got so much echo, it's going to need sound deadening pads. That is awful. But having said that, if I'm going to give it away with a flip system or something, then it's absolutely fine. Or if someone wants a cheap PC, yeah, I think I've probably overspent on this. Right, let's plug it in. Ooh, look at that RGB goodness. There's something about that RGB which looks very, very static, in my opinion. Ugly Bob says, fill it with sand, it feels fine. Wow, okay. I am not sure about this at all, so is there any... Right, caps lock.
Stephen Kelly is off.
Cheers, Stephen. So, we've got some nice LEDs actually on there for the number lock and caps lock. They're quite subtle. It's got a Windows lock as well, so yeah, it's not entirely horrendous. Where have we got our function? That's our... Oh, there's our lighting control button. So, we've got either off, which looks quite nice. We've got on, which is just... well, there's R, G, there's a little bit of amber in there, and then there's kind of a red. Press it again, then we've got green, red, a bit of mauve in there somewhere, or purple, then blue. And press it again, and then we get blue, yellow, and purple. So, hang on. Blue, green, pale blue. So in theory, we should be able to do RGB because they're not all the same. So yeah, red. How the hell have they done this? So what other options we got? So, oh no, that's just doing function. Right, so we've got brightness, okay. Brightness up and down with the function key. That was a little bit confusing. What other, can we do anything else with colour, or is that it? That appears to be it. So we can't even have a single colour. Wow. So yeah, it's basically static keyboard. What a crock of shit.
Take my back.
How the hell? Why did I buy this, Kath?
I didn't even know you did.
Was this one of your stupid deals you posted?
Was it?
I don't know.
I've never seen it before.
I bet this is Bob. It's got Bob's name all over it. Right, where's the instructions? Why the hell have I bought this nonsense? Brightness up and down. We are being spoiled. We are. Absolutely great. Yeah, Matthew Day, different LED colour on 1, 2, both. How much do you pay for this? Hopefully a 5 or a tenner. I think it's about 20 quid. I have to look. It might have been less. I have to look on Amazon. Actually get... Oh, I was going to say, Kath, can you look it up? But don't worry.
Bob's like a bit offended.
Who posted this? Right, Kath, look on Discord and see who posted this keyboard.
Where was it?
This is not good. O'Reilly says, no software, no. So John Sullivan says it's trust, all the proof you need. Bob says, feck off, it's not Bob, you Welsh git. Oh, that's hurtful. Very hurtful. Ha, Mike, come on, speak the truth. Release it all out and confess your sins on buying the trust kit. Yeah.
When did you buy it? Oh, there it is.
Welsh Tony says it wasn't me. Where did I post it? Or did you post it?
Seam at 9, I think. Gaming, is it that one?
Yeah, trust keyboard and mouse, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh dear, William Bone.
That one, that's not it, is it?
No, I don't think so. No. I want to know, does it? Kieran says I've seen worse or more. I'll be honest with you, I have seen worse. And actually, the keycaps themselves, and there's hardly any wobble to them, which I'm not expecting. But then they have got those square bases, I guess you'd call them. I'm not really going to call it a keycap because it's not really a keycap as such, but it kind of is, I guess. I don't think they're even... Are they meant to come out? I don't think they are.
How long ago was that?
Oh dear Lord. That's smashed into place rather badly. Captain White says, to be honest, to be fair, we got some laughs from it, so it might be worth 20 quid. Yeah. It's not bad. Well, Tony says, wow, that chat pop-up thing is cool. Yeah, it wasn't easy to set up, but it kind of works. Actually, yeah, it's done the logo as well. Good. Kieran Axon says, Bargain Foss got open box F15 case for 47 quid. I do like that. Nice case. I bet this deal I posted myself, actually. British News says, how fast can you destroy it? To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't destroy it. I'd probably give it away to someone. There is actually quite a nice look to it. So the kind of the top deck is plastic. There's like a translucent plastic all around the top. So it doesn't look that bad actually in person. It's very light. There's no weight to it at all. But it's got some really nice features, like the keycaps don't wobble, which I appreciate immensely. That is a really nice touch. The keycaps feel very nice as well. The luminescence of it actually doesn't look overly bad. And something which you don't often get on keyboards of any price these days are the dual feet. So you've got the big foot adjustment and you've also got the smaller foot. So you've got two separate plastic feet there. You've got massive rubber dampeners on the bottom as well, and on each one of the feet. So I don't know if you can make it out on the camera, but there is actually rubber on both of those. And with it in the raised position, let's see if I can put it down.
They want to see it with the lights on.
Okay. So actually, yeah, it's not. I don't like the fact it hasn't got moving RGB. That for me is a little bit of a pain, or the fact that you can't actually change the colour particularly. Doesn't seem to want to change. But then if you've got an RGB build, and yeah, it's not ideal, but actually for using it and typing on, spacebar is a little bit on the old rattly side. Yeah, it's okay. If you think about it, if you break it down, so a tenner for a keyboard, 5 quid or whatever it was for a mouse. I'm pretty sure this was like £12 or something. Maybe. Hopefully it wasn't much more than that. For 12 quid or even £15, I don't think it was 18. I bet I posted it on the community tab.
Community?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
I bet I found it. I bet it was on UK Hot Deals. Those bastards. Let's unplug that. Yeah, it's a direct copy of a Razer keyboard, which would be actually quite a nice thing to have. Whereas this was a mistake. I'm gonna admit to this one. This was a mistake. Cheap and cheerful. If I ever need a keyboard and mouse in a hurry for someone, or someone's desperate and needs one, it's going to be absolutely fine. Most people these days, like, I'll be honest with you, the community that we've got here, most of us know quality products. We like to get a bargain, but we also realise what quality is and realise that you have to pay for quality. I actually spoke to somebody today who doesn't know anything about PCs, and it was a very brief conversation asking about how much a PC would cost. So they wanted to buy one for their child for Christmas. And they said, like, about a PC, so what is that? Like, looking at a case, that's the tower unit, and how much would it be, and how much do things cost? And their perception of how much a keyboard and mouse cost was kind of, they said, well, the keyboard and mouse doesn't cost a lot, does it? And I suppose if you're in the market the mainstream market, like you're shopping in Asda, Tesco, etc., it's quite likely you're going to see something like this on the shelves, and you're going to see it for like 15, 20 quid. Keyboard and mouse, you're going to see RGB lights on it. It's not entirely offensive packaging, so yeah, if you saw this for 15, 20 quid, you think, oh, a keyboard and a mouse, yeah. Tenner for a keyboard, fiver for a mouse, that sort of thing, and you think to yourself, yeah, I got a good deal there. But if you kind of, from our perspective, being that we are more knowing, I would argue, you're going to be looking at things like this, the Corsair RGB Elite. You're going to be looking at your Logitechs, you're going to be looking at your MSIs, your ASUS, Endgame Gear, Techwear, you know, the quality components. At which point, obviously, that mouse there is going to cost probably 3 times what this combo costs. But when you try and explain that, the actual difference in quality and the usage of this against something like this, you're trying to explain it to somebody who knows nothing about computers and doesn't use a computer possibly on a regular basis, they're going to think you're like a lunatic. When I said to them today, like, keyboard and mouse you can pick up for a fiver, but you can also spend up to 500 quid. And the kind of the look of disbelief in their eyes when I said it was very kind of telling of where we are as an industry, where you can buy something like a car. You can buy a cheap car for a few £1,000s. It will get you from A to B, but it's not going to be particularly enjoyable. Or you can buy a McLaren F1, which will do it considerably quicker and going to cost you a shit ton more money. William Bodie says, put some wheels on it and make... to be honest with you, I don't think there's actually enough metal in this to survive making that. If it had a metal backplate, I would potentially do it. Stuart Cleary says, just bought it through your link, thanks. No problem.
Mr. Handtech.
Mr. Handtech, where's that? Mr. Handtech, Mr. Handtech, Mr. Handtech. Mike, I built a 5600G APU game PC for about 500 quid, advertised it for 600, sold it in 2 weeks. Not sold it in 2 weeks. Any ideas? Game Max white diamond case. Let's go back to the main. I'm going to have to remove the intro button off there because that's going to make things very difficult. I'll be honest with you, I struggle. If I buy a set of components and put it into a case and sell it for what is a reasonable price, it's bizarre. Nobody or very little interest. Whereas I see other PCs which are using like kind of old Intel i7 2600Ks with a GTX 660 something or other in a crappy case, and they're selling it for like 600-700 quid, and it doesn't seem to be on there long. So I don't know. I really don't understand the market at the moment. I really don't. And I think the more you try and charge for something which is crap, it's more likely to sell than something which is genuinely priced in the mid-range. It's really, really odd. I would say...
I did eBay for years and I never understood.
Yeah, the market is just very difficult to read. I would say the 5600G, the 5700G and all that kind of stuff, personally for me, I don't think they make sense. I wouldn't buy one unless they were a lot cheaper, like hugely cheaper. The 3400G, I said this in the Discord chat a little bit earlier on today, the 3400G on the used market at around about 100, 130 pounds, yes, to most people that makes a lot of sense then, because the onboard graphics, the Vega 11, etc., it's reasonably capable, so you wouldn't necessarily need a graphics card. With the 5600, you've got Vega 8 or Vega 7, whatever it is, and it's higher clocked, better IPC, etc., so it's similar performing, but it's a lot more money. What we're looking at the moment, about £300 for a 5600G. That's a lot of money, and I think in the especially the sort of the used market, people don't want to spend that sort of money. I don't think I'd buy a 5600G system. I don't think I'd buy the processor as it stands at the prices it is at the moment. Much like when the 3400G came out, first of all, it was like £250. I wouldn't have bought one then. And even at that price now, I still wouldn't buy one. And I think the G market is best suited for the 3000G, the 2200G, the 220G, 2400, maybe 2200, 3200G is pretty much the sweet spot. So you've got those lower core counts, you've got a little bit of hyper-threading, so probably maximum 4 cores, onboard graphics, processor in the region of 60 to 100 pounds, give or take. That I think is where onboard graphics makes sense. As you start going up through the range, maybe the 4650, 4750, that kind of stuff, and then the 5600 stuff, I just don't think it makes sense. Obviously, I'm looking at it from a segment of the market which I generally dip my toes in, but I don't know. If you've got the money and you've got the need and you've got a specific use case scenario, like you've got a tiny ITX PC or some kind of emulation box, then yes, I guess it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think if I was given the option of either a 5600G at its retail price or go for a Ryzen 5 3600 and a GT 1030, for example, I would probably go that route. I think the onboard graphics, and being that the processors are slightly nerfed in terms of core speeds and frequencies and stuff, and hyper-threading to some extent, compared with their kind of desktop counterparts of the same family, so the 5600 versus the 5600G, I think it's just a little bit too cut down. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. I don't know. Let us know what you think in the comments. Am I talking out of my a-hole? Quite possibly. Welsh Tony says, best way to make money, get a cheap shit Dell and put it in a custom case. It's a massive con, but it seems to sell. Yeah, people do fall for that quite often, sadly. Pierre Plays says, I promised my little cousin I'd build her a PC to play Minecraft and Fortnite on, but I was drunk and threw up on the way home, so I'm pretending I forgot. That sounds like a good idea. Mr. Antec says, me too, yeah, 230 for my 5600G. Yeah, 230, I don't know. I've not used one, in complete fairness. And I think until you've actually physically had the processor or system or whatever it is in front of you and actually used it for yourself, I think it's a very different matter than watching reviews or people's opinions, talking heads, that sort of stuff, much like me now. Skystalker says the 5600G Amazon Canada is $329. I think that is the best onboard video with a bit of future proof. Yeah, that is again is another thing that we need to kind of almost consider to some extent, is obviously come CEX time, what, January next year, potentially we're going to be hearing about the next generation of AMD processors. It's making it a really difficult time again. It's that perfect storm. There's nothing really available. Everything that is available is overpriced, and we're waiting on 2 new architectures from both sides of the aisle. If it was a normal time and we didn't have all the other crazy stuff in the world going on, we would probably be at a point now where Intel and AMD, and probably to some extent memory manufacturers, they'd be having fire sales throughout, just trying to clear all the inventory so they could concentrate on the new stuff coming out. But because we can't make processors and components fast enough, there is still that huge demand. We're going into Christmas and the holiday season where people are going to want to buy stuff. All the manufacturers are like, well, okay, we haven't got a great deal to sell. We can't really see any stock coming in the near future. So let's just sell what we got at the prices we have and we'll see what happens. And I can guarantee the run up to Christmas, things are going to get more expensive. There's going to be less and less stock. There's going to be manufacturers and also sellers which have got stock of older stuff, which is in theory less value because new stuff on its way. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be a really, really weird one. Tristan Jesus' life during wartime. Yeah. Mr. Hantex says, oh bless you, thanks Mike. And no, new from Amazon. I'm sure it'll sell eventually. It definitely will. If you don't mind holding on to it, then yes, you will definitely excuse me. If you hold on to it long enough, it'll get to the point where, much like we did in M Squared, the computer shop, literally on the day before Christmas, people were rocking up with basically throwing money at us, saying, I need a PC. Like, well, we've only got this, that'll do. And they'll buy it. They didn't even really question how much it cost. They're like, yeah, I'll just take it. And it will get to that this year. Glenn says there's whispers of a 5000 series AMD refresh before AM5. Oh, yeah, I don't think that is completely off the cards, off the table. There hasn't been a real refresh. I don't know whether there would be a refresh. I know it's difficult to actually get the processors. So unless they've got to the point where they've got the processing to such a high standard that they're not binning as much, or they're getting better yields from the CPUs, which are reaching higher frequencies easier, without them releasing probably new SKUs. So they might do a 5970, a 5650, maybe. It's very possible. They're not going to release any low-end chips, I don't think. There's no need for them to do it. I would like to see it, but yeah. You never know. Pierre Play says, I'm not sure how I feel about the next gen of AMD being LGA socket. I have the exact same reservations. I like AM4. I like the socket architecture. I like the way it works. People don't like pins on processors, but if you're careful with them, unlike me when I managed to swipe a 3000G off the desk and destroy most of the pins, which Kath lovingly put back together. Thank you, Kath. Other than that, I think it's going to make it harder, definitely. Chips are going to sell easier, but motherboards are going to fail much more regularly because people are going to bend those pins on the LGA. They do on Intel already. You only have to look at eBay listings for sold as seen motherboards or Intel motherboards bent pins with people selling them at like half price, saying you might be able to get it working, you might be able to bend those pins back out. And I've actually tried it myself. I've had a motherboard where I've had bent pins on the socket. I had an 1155 socket board which had bent pins and never managed to get those pins to go straight again. Absolute failure. Whereas on the flip side with AMD, I've had processors with bent pins which pretty much, I think 100% of the time I've managed to get the pins to be straight again, or to physically get it to fit in a socket. So I've had much better luck with pins on AMD than I have with Intel, even though I've had much less interaction with Intel. So there is going to be that to it.
Can you get on the same level as that in that board?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that
so
is.
you'd be on a different angle.
It is about the angle with the boards. They're very difficult to get to those pins. William says, I did order 2x 16 gig 4400 megahertz, €205. Was that a good deal? Depends what it is. At the moment, here in the UK, we are starting to see 32 gigs of DDR4 3600. I'm sure I've seen it for about £135. So in euros, that's probably about 160, I want to say, 155, 160. Depends on the RGB, the brand, and all that stuff. And being that is 4,400, probably is a pretty good price.
Pierre's making us a chip butty.
Oh, nice. I could do a chip butty. Well, Sony says LG has more pads over AMD chips. Yeah, I don't remember even how many pins there are on AMD processors now. So it used to always be related to the socket type, didn't it? So like LGA 1155 had 1,155 pins on it, which made it very easy. And Socket 370 had 370 pins on it. Tristan G says, all my systems that I built are AMD. recently, apart from this one I'm about to do, I think the last time I did an Intel one was back in February of 2021. Actually, yeah, it was this year. Yeah, this year, February, I did do the B560 mortar with the Intel 10100K? No, 10100F. No onboard graphics. No, that was the year before. I did the 6700K. That was toilet roll time.
Toilet rolls.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Reality Dog says, imagine a world where Intel and AMD merge. At one point, there was talk of Intel buying AMD, but because the Monopolies and Mergers Commission, they had to have some relevant competition on the market at the time, which is the reason why it never went through, because AMD was literally on its ass before Lisa Su came in and took the reins. So there was a point where, yeah, a lot of people thought that AMD was going to fold and Intel were ready to buy, but the Monopolies and Mergers Commission are like, no, you have to have competition.
Don't mention her name. Bob will be excited now.
Oh, yeah, Bob, don't get excited at Lisa Su.
And her shoes.
Ugly Bob says, chips. We had chips for dinner today, actually. Did enjoy chips. We didn't have a chip butty though. Why the hell didn't we have a chip butty?
I couldn't even fit the chips in.
The chips are still in the microwave. We'll have to heat them up after the stream and get some butties on the go. But in the chip butty, do you have
Mayo.
mayonnaise, or do you have sauce, or just salt and vinegar? Let us know in the comments below. Oh dear. But Ugly Bob, plenty of salt and vinegar on mine. I do like a lot of salt and vinegar on chips, especially if they're a bit crispy. Patrick LaBelle says, with patience, you can solder pins from a donor CPU to another, and that will fix it. I've seen that done. I don't have the patience. My soldering skills are absolutely
Horrendous.
awful. Never, if we get to the point where there is a zombie holocaust and we all have to take jobs in the future that are kind of jobs we wouldn't normally do, please, please do not put me in the role of surgeon, because if you need stitching up, it's not going to be great for you. It's going to be bad. It's, yeah. If you imagine a child doing sewing, that would be me soldering.
Oh no, they're much better.
They probably would be better, to be fair. Oh dear. Matthew Day says, I am running a i7 3770 now. That was a great chip. The 2700K, I think, was a marvel of engineering, and the 3770 following on from it, yeah, at the time they were incredible. And actually only up until probably about, I think it was about 4 years ago, I was still on the 2700K, and it was brilliant. It really was brilliant. I love that. Curry sauce on the chips. We did have curry sauce today.
I didn't.
The curry sauce wasn't that great, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't really thick enough. No, never mind. Pierre Player says, okay, bear with me, eating, lol. Okay. Brown sauce is a must. Brown sauce is for bacon sandwiches, not for butties.
John Lilly said, motherboard on Amazon D, can't find it for that price.
Sorry, who said that?
John Lilly.
Oh, John Lee, I was about to get that one. John Lee says, can't find that motherboard on Amazon.de for that price. Should be on there. The links are in the video description. It should be there. Not sure why it's not. If you can't find it, go to our channel's community tab and look in the post, and you'll see the board posted there and the link from the one I actually bought.
But that's not for Germany.
Yeah, it was Germany, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Rick H says, I'm running a i7 3700 with a GT 1030. Good old GT 1030. Oh god. I've got an ITX motherboard in the front room, and I'm loath to buy a processor with onboard graphics at the moment for the B550 chipset, because reality is it's a 3400G is a possibility. Other than that, it's like we said earlier, the 5600G, which is I don't think makes sense. An OEM 4300G might be just the ticket if I can get one, AliExpress or eBay possibly. But I'm actually thinking I might even go 2600 and a graphics card, because it doesn't really need to run a lot, so I might have to. Yeah, I don't know. Tristan G says, computers and chips and sauce. This is Mike's Unboxing. It is. I do like talking about food. Not this time of night really, but still. Stuart Cleary is €5, says chip shop sauce tongue twister. It was, I did struggle with that one. Thank you very much for the super chat. Patrick LaBelle says, going to walk the dog. I'll keep the stream running. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks, Patrick. And be careful out there walking the dog. Watch out for the yellow snow. Captain White says, GT 1030 is a solid media GPU and good for light gaming. Yeah, that's because that is what the, oh God. The computer in the living room is the little InWin B1 case, which in pretty much every respect is perfect because it's tiny, it's quiet, it's got a built-in power supply, so you don't have to worry about that. It's extremely efficient, but it's so small I can't fit anything in there, which is a graphics card, so you have to use an APU with it. So I'm really tempted to get a different case, like an NR200 or something, or what's the other one I was thinking of? Oh God. Kolink's Rocket Extreme, I think it is called, which is a little bit more chunky, but then you can put a graphics card and stuff. So I don't know.
Tristan's off.
Cheers, Tristan. Have to get back to playing New World. Keep an eye on your graphics card, don't get blowing it up. Matthew Day says, are Ryzen 2000s Win 11 ready? I'm not sure actually. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up. Not sure. William Bodie, you strange man. Mix curry sauce with cola and orange juice. Warm it up and it's great. Curry sauce with cola and orange juice. What, and then put it on chips or something? Curry sauce with cola. I'm trying to even work out how that even would taste.
And how you would come up with it in the first place.
Curry sauce and cola I can kind of imagine, because having curry sauce in chips and drinking it at the same time as a Coke, the two go really well. But the orange juice as well, I think I'm going to be sick in my mouth. I'm not, I'm joking. That's a weird one. I might try that if I get drunk again. Captain White says NR200 is quite big still for a media PC. Yeah, that is the problem. James Brock, do you see my question to you? Oh, what was the question?
Sorry.
Oh, here's one for you, Mike. Why do Mobos sometimes simply suddenly die and just stop working? I don't know. It's normally down to just bad components. Normally it's solder. I had it a lot with, I think I'll probably mention this before, so I won't elaborate too much, but the AMD FX motherboards, the FX 970 and the 990s, definitely from Gigabyte. I had two do it, I'm sure it's two, maybe even three, where literally I was playing, what came out at the time? Fallout 4. Kath and I were playing Fallout 4 on the sofa in there. I had it on the big telly with the computer behind the telly.
With the sofa pushed up to the telly.
The sofa pushed right up to the telly so I could actually see the screen, and Kath could see the screen because she was making notes of where stuff was in Fallout to tell me where to go for these tasks. And yeah, we literally just playing absolutely fine, decent frame rates, performing exactly as it should do. Turn the computer off, next day, when to turn it on, completely dead. And like, nothing. I don't even think there was LEDs coming on the motherboard. I don't think there was really LEDs on boards back then so much. It was an Antec 900 case. I think that was the RGBs on the front, the blue RGB stuff built into the fan, so that was irrelevant. But yeah, nothing at all. You press the power button, nothing at all. And yeah, just a dead board. And that happened at least twice, if not 3 times on that similar platform. So 990 or the 970, which I kind of, I'm not sure if I replaced one under warranty or I just said sod it and gave up. I think I actually gave one of those boards to Kath's nephew and said, look, you know, just try it if you can get anything out of it. And I don't think he ever did. I think he just probably just chucked it out. So yeah, I don't think there's any specific rhyme or reason to it. Those boards in particular were prone for failure. And I think even Jay's 2 Cents actually did a piece on it very recently saying about old FX stuff. I think he had a 8320E processor or 8350, and he was having a board that just refused to work. But yeah, I have had it. I would, if you can, thinking back now, if I'd have thought about it, I would have probably got the board, removed as much of the plastic stuff off the board as possible, and then stuck it in the oven. But I think at the time it was like, we were playing it on a Saturday night, and on Sunday the computer fair was on in Bristol at the Bauer Centre. So it's like, right, okay, so I'm going to have to go and buy a motherboard. There's nothing else I can do. I have no other option. I'm going to have to close the shop and go and buy a motherboard. Ah dear, sorry, funny little thought going in my head there. So yeah, we had to do that. I paid over the odds because I could have waited till Monday or Tuesday and got a motherboard from like eBay or something for probably about 10 quid less. But I thought, no, I'll go to the computer fair. I was going to buy one and get it done. And I bought the same one again, virtually, that failed, thinking that'd be easier because the chipset drivers, etc., etc., all just work. I regretted it. Instant regret. Ah dear. Okay. Back to weird combinations. O'Reilly's Team Me put Anchor spray cream on Coca-Cola. Yeah, I can imagine that.
That ain't too weird. We made an omelette with spray cream.
We did, yeah, we have made omelettes before with squirty cream. Not just squirty cream, obviously. Other ingredients will be provided. John Sullivan says, I saw Lynx Africa with Marmite in the shops. I love both, but I'm not sure about mixing them up as deodorant. No, that's a bit bloody weird, isn't it?
Keep away, aluminium.
Yeah. Nenad Milos. I'll stick with Nenad. Ryzen 5 3600, best buy in the last few years overall, and possibly 10400F, best value for money. Yeah, I think we could pretty much all agree with you on that. The Ryzen 5 3600 and probably the Ryzen 5 2600 and the 2600X, both of which very, very good processors. Matthew Day says lead-free solder kills a lot of components. Interesting, I didn't know that. Graham Cake says, what GPU should I pair with a Ryzen 3 4300GE and a 500 watt bronze PSU? It depends what you can get. You've got a little bit of headroom there because that processor's not using a great deal of power, so I don't know. Probably a 1060 would be probably a good choice to go with that. Maybe a 2060 at a push, if you can get one. Although I don't know if the Ryzen 3 would have enough horsepower to power that in some things. You wouldn't probably get the most out of it. Probably yeah, 1060, 1050 easy, 1050 Ti easy. I think a 1060 or maybe 1070 at a push might be a good choice for that. William Bodie says, I work in a hot dog stand. That's the org how to make it. Currywurst Poms. In that case. Oh dear. James Brock says, FX series is what soured me on AMD. Yeah. The FX series wasn't great. The lower end ones were fine. The 4300, the 4100, the 6300 was probably the best one on the range. They're all really good. Ashley Strachan says, damn Mike, you planted the seed talking about a bacon butty currently cooking. Oh, yeah, I could murder a bacon butty now. Captain White says, Silverstone ML05 for your media PC using a GT 1030 single slot gigabyte version with fan. I'll have to take a look at that. Kath, write it down. Silverstone ML05. And actually, Silverstone, we did some stuff with them ages ago, didn't we? wonder if they might possibly send us one for review. Mark MC says, definitely drunk when you find that taste combination, William. Yes, I think he might have been. Ooh, Ugly Bob. I used to have Branston pickle on my fried egg sarnes. I can imagine that because Branston pickle isn't that dissimilar from HP sauce and possibly fruity sauce. And those go fantastic with fried eggs. I'm really hungry now, you bastards. Oh dear. Kieran Atkinson says, I used to, fine, I still do, eat cake mix. Come on, we've all eaten cake mix. There's something bizarre about that taste of cake mix. I think it must be the baking soda. I think, what's the one that rises? Is that baking soda?
No, that's baking powder, but we
Baking
don't
powder.
very often put that in.
But if you buy a cake mix, they do, don't they? They put that in there. It's got that sort of tingly taste on your tongue.
Probably put that in anyway.
Sugary, tingly taste on your tongue. Like it. We like that a lot. Ooh. Calf Churchill, that's you. I just realised that before I read it out. I sometimes have grated cheese over roast dinner, and actually that is particularly good. It's got a very nice. We always have like quite a salty cheddar type cheese, like a strong mature cheese. Very nice. Ugly Bob. Oh, and Farley's rusks. I still eat those at the ripe old age of 49. I think we bought some of those as a joke, or
No, George used to eat them as a baby.
was it a casualty when they had those for some babies thing and we were eating them?
Oh, I don't know.
I think
They're
we
too
were.
dry.
Yeah. They're right for dipping in tea. Oh dear. Rosen213 says, what GPU can you get? That's a very good question. These days, not many, if any. It's very difficult. We are going off on the food tangent here. It's good. O'Reilly says the 8350 Black Edition was my FX CPU. Yeah, I did have one of those at one point. Kieran says, Mike, please, 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 reoccurring, carry the one. Please review the Cooler Master TD500. Okay, I'll get Kath to write that one down as well when she returns. Oh, you've written it down already, have you? Well done. Captain White says they're only 40 quid on OC UK. Okay, I'll have a look at that. James Brock is saying to Matthew Day, did they break because they could not hold up to the temps generated by the components? I think that's probably what a lot of it was. It would kind of correlate to what was going on when I was using them, so it would have been gaming with probably a GTX 780, I would imagine, at that time, which was not particularly known for being a particularly cool running card. Yeah, it probably was actually a 78, it was either 77, yeah, GTX 770 or 780. I think I had a Zotac GTX 780 3 gig, one with the 3 orange fans, and it was pretty toasty. Reality Dog says, I have MSI NVIDIA RTX 3060 new in box. Should I sell or keep for spare? That's difficult. I would probably... There's two sides of that, there really is. If you can afford to keep hold of it, I would keep it as a spare because graphics cards are not in very good supply. If you need the money, then I would probably sell it because you can probably sell it for quite a decent amount. At least what you paid for it, if not better. Don't know. Difficult one. It's a very unusual place to be. Very privileged place, to be honest with you. Oh, John Sullivan, stop it, making me very hungry. From PC to food tech, yeah, it's definitely there. We actually, we have been sent by one company a coffee machine, and I'm really looking at it thinking, how can I really integrate this into the channel? It is technically technology because it's a machine which makes drinks.
And we all drink coffee.
And we all drink coffee pretty much, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to have to try and find some technological way of doing it. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Ashley Strachan says, thoughts on the Steam Deck? Anyone getting one? I'm very tempted, but really, really undecided. My gut says wait for version 2. I think with anything this new, version 2 is probably worth waiting for. Depends on prices when they actually finally release. They're not entirely cheap for what they are.
You haven't reviewed it yet?
Yeah, I haven't reviewed it yet. 980 are normally 160 to 180. I jump on a 980 Ti, says Captain White. Matthew Day says, seen the time, you need to get up tomorrow. What time is it? Oh, bloody hell, yeah. O'Reilly says, is the coffee machine Google or Alexa enabled?
Luckily not.
No, it's not, but there is, I don't know. If you like coffee, like in brackets, good coffee, when you go to like your local coffee place and you have a coffee, it's normally a decent coffee, and you drink it, and it's extremely rare that you can replicate that taste at home. Very rare. I've had many coffee machines, and I've bought various different coffees.
This has got a steamer, not
Yeah.
pre-mixed.
I've bought Lavazza, I've bought Amazon's Cheap Basics, I've bought all kinds of brands from the supermarkets that you see on the shelves. I've bought all sorts. And even when we worked at Casualty, they would buy bulk coffee to be in the coffee shop that they had there, and we'd have some of that as well, which was like really expensive shit, which no one ever used but us, which is a bit stupid, but anyway, we did. And I've never ever been able to recreate that kind of, not the perfect, well, almost perfect cup of coffee that you get from a decent barista. When you go and you drink it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good one. It's got that right hit, gives you just the right rush, doesn't make you off your tits. Just, yeah, a really, really nice cup of coffee. And Kathy actually worked in a coffee place of recent years, so she's got a bit of experience making coffees, etc. So it's like, right, okay, you're up. Please use it and do the thing. So Kath made coffee using Amazon's cheap-ass basics coffee, which literally is like less than...
I think it was 6 packs of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or £3 or something.
£3 something or other for 6 packs of coffee. So this is like their bargain basement, tastes like ass coffee. And we've been using it for years because I bought loads of it because it was so cheap. And it's actually even out of date now. Although I'm not sure coffee does go out of date, but anyway, that's another story. But we use this cheap ass coffee, which normally tastes like absolute ass water. Not ass water, but you know, it's not good. It's a horrible, bitter, nasty coffee. But I drink it because I paid for it. So you know what it's like. You know what I'm like. Anyway, Kath made some coffee with this machine, went through the milk steaming process, like making a proper latte. And I'll be honest with you, I was like, this is going to be awful. I drank it. It's like, holy shit. This has actually made that coffee taste bloody excellent. It genuinely did. It blew me away. And I've tried using the machine myself after to try and replicate it, and I can't. Kath has definitely got the knack at that. So it's not a machine which is going to make everybody the perfect cup of coffee, but if you know what you're doing, or you've got an inkling, or you're pretty good with that sort of stuff, Kath made some badass coffee out of it, and it was absolutely amazing. And it cost about £60 for this coffee machine with a milk frother, which is really like quite cheap. We did look into it. It's like even the ones with just like a filter are not cheap. But this is a proper espresso machine with a milk frother, warming plate and all that kind of stuff. It's the real deal, but for home use, and it's bloody good. So there will be a review coming out soon, and there's a couple of videos actually we recorded this week where I'm talking so fast in the video it's ridiculous because I'm literally off my nut with coffee because we had like 3 or 4 banging them down. I was like, woo, let's go. Done some videos and it was like,
That's why I had to sleep today.
yeah, that's why Kath's gone to sleep early today because she's just like killed her off. Anyway, so yeah, looking forward to that actually. It's a good one. It's a bit different as well. John Sullivan says Horsham coffee beans are nice. James Brock says I've had Lavazza. I like it. 8 o'clock is my favourite. Stuart Cleary says caffeine is poison, hence bowel movements. Yeah, I know where you're coming from with that. Actually, I do know where you're coming from with that.
This might be good for enemas.
It's good for enemas,
Not enemas. But
and it's also,
colonics.
what's it they say is like half a cup of coffee is good for your heart, for something or other, or is it your prostate? One of the two. Same thing.
Same. In your case.
Oh dear. Mark MC says, I like coffee so much, I am the best coffee machine there is, lol. Awesome. Pierre Player says, my coffee machine is a smart one and Alexa makes my coffee. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to work out how I could do it on a smart switch. So I could wake up in the morning and say, assistant, make coffee. But it's got a really clever power switch on there. So you press the power switch and it's like a soft on, soft off. So if you don't use it or you turn it on accidentally, it turns itself off after a while of not being used. So there isn't a physical hard button, so I couldn't press the button in to have it powered on and then tell the socket to turn on remotely. So, I mean, yeah, and you wouldn't steam the milk, so yeah. Captain White says, I'm off guys, thanks for the chat, see you later. No worries. James Rock says, I percolate my coffee on the stove top. That's a good way of doing it, actually. Stuart Cleary says, I've spent a good bit over the years in Starbucks, Costa, Insomnia, etc. Yeah, have you seen how much coffee costs these days? If you go to a coffee bar, even just like an independent in High Street, it's like £3 for a coffee. £3. So we worked out.
When I have a mocha at the park on a Sunday, £3.25.
£3 for a mocha, £3.25. Blimey, horrendous. Anyway. Pierre Player says, Mike, you need the smarter 3.0 coffee machine, lol. I don't know. I'm getting sick of smart gadgets, I've got to be honest with you, to some extent. There's a lot of them which have got no need to be smart. Like a smart toaster, no, you don't need a smart toaster, you really don't. Smart vacuum, not so sure. Robot vacuum, yes, I can understand that. But a smart vacuum, it's like, why? You don't really need it. It's like, do you need an app on your phone to say, the dustbin is full, please empty? It's like, well, oh yeah, I can see. Anyway, moving on.
And then call me.
Yeah. John Sullivan says, God, there was a place I was going to with my colleague. It was £4 for a flat white. Sod that. Yeah, coffee is just ridiculously expensive. So I much prefer to make it at home. I really do. And
You don't have to go out either.
using cheap ass coffee and getting excellent results is like a win-win for my situation. It really is. Anyway, you'll be seeing it when it comes out. Tim says, hi, Kath and Mike. How you doing, Tim? And Gokula says, hi, Mike. How are you? Yeah, not too bad. In fact, I'm so well, I'm going to be ending the stream pretty much now. We have actually gone way over time. Normally we finish at 11, so it's 11:30 now. So you've had an extra half an hour of talking about bacon rolls, chip butties, and coffee. So Mike's tea tips. Mike's tea tips. That could be a sub channel. Nick Barnes says you will be like those meerkats with the cheapest energy bills on the road. That's not a bad idea. Oh, Tim says, I picked up that Easy SMX gamepad you recommended to replace my broken Xbox wired control. Perfect, thanks. No worries. Yep, everyone's been very pleasant and helpful. Awesome. Don't forget, guys and girls, hit the like button. Do us a favour, share the stream. For some reason, YouTube doesn't really promote the stream after it's been done. So, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing some of the viewing figures sometimes. But, hey, can't always be #1 best-selling videos, unlike the chipset one, which has done particularly well. Anyway, I'm wittering on right now. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight for a chat and a little bit of fun and games and talking about food. We should do this more often. We should do a food channel, I think, as a sub channel. That would be absolutely great. And there is a super chat coming in from Arali. Thank you so much, Arali. Says, good night, Mike. Sleep well and have a good day tomorrow. Beer money early. Bless you. So, smash the like button and all that other stuff. Oh, it's still, come on, the bloody light bulb thing. I need to clean that. That's actually filthy. Need a vacuum. Luckily I've got one somewhere. Right, anyway, I'm wittering on again. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Saturday evening. Have a great day tomorrow. There's supposed to be some crazy ass storms in the UK tomorrow, so everyone please, yeah, watch what you're doing. If you're out and about driving, be careful. Watch out for loose flying shit coming off your roof. That's always a bad sign when you see things coming off your roof. Anyway, clean those dirty balls. I think I will, Bob. Thank you for that. So, thanks to everybody. Thanks for super chats. Thanks for yeah, all your comments. Actually, it's part of what makes this place so cool. Don't forget, if you want to chat more, you can chat on our Discord chat. I won't be tonight because I'm going to go to bed because I got work tomorrow, which sucks majorly. Anyway, I've been Mike. This is Mike's unboxing, reviews, and how-to, and we'll catch you. Yes, you later. Sorry, Kev.